Welcome to Module 8 of the University of Sydney's Up to Extension 1 Mathematics Bridging course. In this module, we'll cover the concept of inverse functions. To get an idea of what an inverse function is, I want you to think of your favourite function. What does it do to an input to get the corresponding output? Okay, so another question. Can you think of a function that will take in the output and spit back out the input? In other words, can you reverse the process of your favourite function? If your favourite function is complicated, then I've just asked you some pretty tough questions. Let's say your favourite function was a simple one, like the doubling function. So your function inputs a number and then multiplies it by 2. Can we undo this? Can we reverse the process of multiplying by 2? If you're thinking that we should start halving, then you're exactly right. The inverse of the doubling function is the halving function. Okay, so what about the squaring function f of x equals x squared? We all know that an input of 3 gets sent to an output of 3 squared equals 9 under this function. But if we start with 9, how can we reverse this to get back to 3? You might be thinking about taking a square root. That's a great idea, but there's a problem. 3 is not the only number that squares to 9. Minus 3 also squares to 9. So if we input 9 into our square root function, how do we know if we want 3 or minus 3? Remember that a function must take a single input to a single output. There's a subtle but very important issue going on here. Not all functions have an inverse function. We cover this topic in 3 videos. By the time you complete the 3 videos, you'll understand the concept of an inverse function. You'll also know which functions have an inverse and which do not. For those functions that do have an inverse, you'll be able to calculate the formula of the inverse function, plus how to graph them. Finally, by the end of this module, you'll have a deeper understanding of how calculus interacts with this concept of inverse functions. Do the sine, cos, and tan functions have an inverse? Well, they do, but later you'll understand why we have to be a bit careful. Best of luck, and I hope you enjoyed this module. As with the other modules earlier on in this bridging course, I encourage you to practice what you have learned in the videos.